Hey guys, you're tuned in to Matter of Faction today with Alex Callan, and we have AJ from Ratking on the call today. How's it going, man?
Yeah, good man. It's been an interesting week, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, you guys have heaps going on at the moment, and I think the last time we spoke was like 2019 when you were going to South by Southwest. So, now with the new EP coming out, it seems like there's been kind of a lot happening with Ratking.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had to have that that break right over the couple of years because of COVID. So South by Southwest was awesome, and then all the contacts that we made during it kind of uh, came down. Well, the majority of them were in the US,
Hmm.
so we basically weren't able to travel over to meet any of them or anything like that afterwards, which kind of sucked. So instead, we decided to write an EP. But luckily, because we're in WA, we missed out on like 99% of all the COVID stuff. So we're still able to get another release out,
Yeah.
and then get this one coming out now for Nervous Nature, which basically is almost like we're out of COVID, hopefully. And here's what we've done.
Unreal. Well, yeah, because Nervous Nature is a couple of weeks off its release, and truthfully, I can't wait to hear it. I'm always excited whenever Rat King release new music. But I know
Oh,
Panic Station has already been released, and it was premiered on Short Fast Loud. You guys did a launch show at home in Perth recently, so I suppose how have you found the release since that single came out?
really good, man. I mean, it's it's always difficult to gauge. Nervous Nature, the whole I guess vibe of it all was that we wanted to make ourselves really uncomfortable as much as possible. Considering that our last release, All By It, whilst we were in lockdown, was the purpose of that was to be as comfortable as possible. We tried to go the opposite way, and I think we kind of succeeded in that, and also released something that uh, I mean, it sounds tropey, but I guess challenged us in our own type of ways. Even talking about our own mental health issues and anxieties and depression and all that kind of stuff. So the release has been almost like a huge weight off our shoulders to kind of be, this is what we've done, and hopefully you like it. But it's had a really good reception so far. So we're just keen to kind of get the actual whole thing out for everyone to see, because we just, like you said, had our single release launch just on the weekend gone, which was great, and we did it as with like a week to go of advertising because of all the lockdown restrictions and whatnot, to see if we could actually have the show going and whatnot. And it came up in like the last 7 days or something before we were able to actually tell people that the show was definitely on.
So it was
Um,
really last minute in a sense.
yeah, I think we had 9 days in total from like the point at which we said, hey, we have this show on, and then the show actually happening. But it was great. We have a brand new drummer as well, so we wanted to make it as easygoing as for him too. So we did a show at a bowls club, which is 100 capacity, like super small, super intimate. We had no lighting. We just used like lamps and fairy lights from our houses and our back gardens and stuff like that, filled the room up, and had a really like intimate kind of I guess close up and personal show before we go on for our bigger EP launch.
It's That would be incredible. Like I can only imagine seeing Rat King in a room to 100 people. And I mean, in a sense, it's such a catch 22 where you guys are going so well in your career, but those intimate shows, I feel, at the essence is kind of what Rat King's about. I mean, like you guys would love playing those intimate shows.
Dude, they're the absolute best. They're like floor shows. They're face to face. There's the 100 or so people in the room, like jumping over the top of each other. Honestly, it's one of those ones that you actually find that you get so much more of a connection with your entire audience as well.
I see.
Just purely because there's not that huge stage, there's not that huge production value that sits between you and them. It's really about as close as you can get. And we always find that they're the ones that we have, tons of people coming up to speak to us afterwards, and they actually have proper chats. They're not just people that, like fist bump you and they're like sick show. It's people that actually talk to you, and they know your music inside out. And I'll tell you, like, if there's people that haven't been to one of our shows before that do come to one of them, they're like fans for life at that point.
100%. I mean, I was
Yeah.
kind of thinking as you said that, AJ, like they're the most memorable shows ever.
100%, man,
Sense.
without
Like
doubt.
Bring Me the Horizon played in Geelong when I was maybe like 14, and I've probably seen
Yeah,
them 6, 7 times since then. But that one show is like will never be topped in a
it's the
sense.
one that sticks, man. Yeah,
Exactly. And
yeah,
I mean, especially when you guys are releasing new material as well. And I mean, everyone's there kind of celebrating the release of Power Station, sorry, Panic Station. Well, as soon as I started saying, I was like, I know that that is wrong. But I guess for an intimate show, I mean, that kind of creates that camaraderie between you and the crowd, which is, kind of
100%, man.
can't be matched in a sense. So
Yeah, yeah.
as you kind of did say, for the EP release, you are looking at doing some bigger venues and a bit of a tour.
Yeah, so we had a tour booked through, well, actually, we had a tour booked for a few years now that's been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. Um, hopefully, we can make this one this time around. That we'll be traveling through Europe, but we'll see what happens there.
Awesome.
Given, like restrictions are going down in different places and coming up in different places, and it's just we're like until we're actually in the country, we've decided that we're not going on tour. Like it's not actually happening until we're literally standing in the airport, kind of thing.
100%.
But that doesn't mean that we have to exclude Australia, which is wicked as well. So hopefully we can get something going about with that. We've got like a regional tour coming up as well, and then the actual release is 2nd of July, I think, and that's at a full cat venue called Badlands off in East Perth. Well, East Perth, I think it's East or Perth.
So
Yeah.
there's actually a lot of shows coming up, and I mean for fans both in Australia and Europe, if everything works out and you guys can get
We'll
there.
see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's incredibly exciting. I mean, I'm based down in Melbourne, so I'm always quite selfish in asking, but I always want to know when bands are coming down this way. So pretty keen to hear that you guys have like a regional tour in the works as well, and yeah, some massive
Yeah.
shows kind of lined up.
Yeah. The regional ones are awesome to do as well because it's kind of similar to the single launch that we just did. They're always they're people that you don't often see purely because they're not coming into the city or anything like that.
Definitely.
The venues are smaller and they're closer up and all that kind of stuff. I really like the regional ones.
And I suppose when you were kind of talking about the reception at the launch show before, I was kind of interested in, Panic Station as like specifically because it does kind of differ a little bit from the band's previous material. I mean, it starts out really brutal and kind of straight up like Ratking hardcore. And then as it goes on, I mean, like the clean choruses really threw me off. I mean, it works so well, but it was kind of something quite different. And then at the end, I mean, some of the guitar licks are so melodic and they tie in so well together. So I'm kind of interested as to if Nervous Nature is going to kind of follow the same trend or if Panic Station's a bit of a curveball to then surprise people.
No, it follows that trend. Where so there's one or two. There's one track in the middle called Explode that's very very Rat Kingy of all our previous releases, and it sits right in the center. The back half of the EP is heavier than the front half of the EP, and I think again the whole uncomfortable discomfort kind of thing we had going on. Like we wrote the entire thing without a drummer. Normally we write all of our stuff in a room, standing together in a rehearsal room. One of us walks in and goes, "I've got this idea," and we get together and we write it. This time we did it in front of a computer in our bassist house. Basically just working on Friday nights. So we'd go out to the pub or to the bowls club, exactly where we actually just had our launch, have a few beers, and then head back to his house and then write for the rest of the night. And then he'd bounce them down on the next day, and then we go listen back to them for the week, and then kind of go from there and see if we need to change things or anything like that. But it's very different to the traditional like punk hardcore vibe where you stand in the room and write together based on that single gent riff or whatever thing you had going on. So yeah, the majority of Nervous Nature, whilst it still has I guess the same kind of attack that Ratking always had, it does delve a lot into the more melodic side of things. But I think that's an outcome of just the weirdness in which we wrote it, and we're like, let's make ourselves uncomfortable, and this is what we came up with.
100%. And I know
Uh,
that Sam Bassel kind of produced Panic Station. So did he produce the whole EP?
He did, yeah, the entire thing.
So I suppose, did you notice an impact on, the change in the band's sound and Sam being involved in the process? Because I mean, when I mentioned the guitar at the end of Panic Station, it is kind of a little bit Ocean Grove-esque in like
Yeah.
it's new metal kind of melodies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if, Sam actually had an impact.
So we wrote everything and whatnot before we even talked about getting Sam to
Mhm.
mix it. But we knew that Panic Station was the one that sounded most Ocean Grovey.
Yeah.
um, the majority of the other ones aren't as close though, and especially the last song on the entire EP. The best way I could describe it is it sounds like a Dead Kennedys track. Um, like that
Yeah.
super kind of wobbly, weird Halloweeny vocals,
Mhm.
which our vocalist doesn't even do the song. Actually, it's our other guitarist the entire time. Plus, he's American and he's from Texas, so it fits the vibe. But yeah, so once Sam actually took over all the tracks, so we recorded it with a guy called Michael Jelenic, who does all our stuff here in Perth, and he's done bands like Psychedelic Porn Crumpets and Tame Impala and stuff like that. He's an old friend of high school from me.
Yeah.
Um, and he tracked it all, and then we kind of searched around for somebody to mix it, and we decided that with the kind of sound that we were going with this kind of more melodic version of Ratking, Sam Bassel just kind of stood out amongst everybody as the right person to go with. To be honest, I didn't even know that he did that. I think maybe Josh or Nick brought it up, and I was like, oh man, this guy's perfect, surely. But once he actually took the tracks as well, um, you can feel the Ocean Grove side of things start to come up. There's lots of reverb put on the vocals, tambourines going and stuff like that. You're like, yeah, this is what he does.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's an incredible producer, and especially being a drummer as well. And you guys kind of, doing it all without a drummer, I can imagine that would have had a massive impact as well. But it is kind of, as you said, with the tambourine and stuff. I mean, Ocean Grove really embraced the weird side of metal. And,
Yeah, yeah.
with Rat King stepping outside your comfort zone, I mean, I feel that's perfect. That's just a match made in heaven in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, it works really well. And we actually, so a friend of ours came in to fill in for drums for the EP.
Mhm.
And he plays in a band called The Fame. So his name's Lyndon, and he absolutely killed it on all the tracks for us as well. And his drumming style lends really well to Sam Bassel's as well. So I think all of that, it all just kind of coalesced into this kind of weird sphere of like beautiful music and oddness, and it just kind of came out as Nervous Nature, I guess.
Yeah, no, well, I'm really excited to hear the whole EP. I mean, I haven't had the chance to yet. It's all very hush hush at the moment, and haven't had access. But I'm so excited to hear it. To be honest,
Yeah,
especially
cool.
after Panic Station kind of came out, and yeah, it is something so different. So yeah, it really surprised me. And I suppose in terms of you talking about stepping outside your comfortability, I know that it also kind of touches on lyrical themes that the band may not have previously spoken about. So I guess what could you tell us about that?
So, I mean, Josh and our old drummer Ian and Nick are the ones who tend to write all the vocals, but I always ask them what exactly we're writing about this time. And I mean, previously we've been really heavy on the political spectrum of things, just because I think when we first started, that's where we were really at.
Mhm.
These days, I mean, it feels like you're just constantly at the whim of like these horrible two parties, and neither of them are really doing anything for anybody. And it almost feels like completely out of our control. So I think we started to delve deeper inside instead of like constant accusational style lyrics instead. So we did All By was still had its kind of political flair, but then started talking about its own or rather, our vocalists started talking about their own inner self. And then this EP, I believe Josh said it is about fire and depression. Hence why the entire motif and theme of it all is red based, along with the front cover of the album being kind of I guess, a silhouette of a head with these kind of like this cross wire going through that's all got flames around it. I think the entire thing is basically a real reflection on all of our mental health anguishes and issues and stuff that, is hard to talk about a lot of the time, except this time we're putting it straight out into the open and talking about not only how we deal with it, but also how we don't deal with it a lot of the time as well, and how that makes it even worse.
100%. And it's, I mean, opening up the conversation between you guys as a band and, as you touched on earlier with those intimate shows, how, fans do kind of come over and say hello and have a chat. I mean, it kind of opens up that conversation for everyone, which is incredibly powerful.
Hopefully, man. Hopefully it helps, us and everybody else that listens to us out on their own mental health journey,
So did Josh kind of say where fire tied into it, I guess? Is it something that he thinks symbolizes?
I don't personally want to speak for him because I wouldn't be able to give you an accurate answer. But he has been one of my friends for 20 plus years. So I know the guy pretty well. But I would dare say it's basically about, I guess the fire that we talk so much about how things like depression and anxiety and any type of even like just neurodivergency in general can either, absolutely pull you down or push you up, not in always a good way and most of the time a bad way. But it sometimes can instill this, huge flame that pushes you to do things that you personally wouldn't have done in the first place. But it can also be the complete opposite at the same time. I think either way, it is fiery nonetheless. And it does push you and to do different things. And hopefully this is one of them.
That was a really incredible response, AJ. I mean, especially considering, as you kind of touched on, you didn't want to speak on behalf of Josh. Like that was very diplomatic and very well articulated.
Thank you. That's personally my opinion on it.
Yeah,
I'm sure you could probably elaborate that.
Well, I suppose, it's something I'd never necessarily put fire in that thought process, when I'm talking about depression, mental health and things like that. But I can really see how it all kind of ties together. And yeah, that's really incredible. That response has kind of blown me away, to be honest, AJ. So Nervous Nature comes out June 17th, so a little over a month away. I suppose, can we expect any single releases or anything like that in the lead?
So we have, I believe, June 2nd is the second single that's coming out. That song's called Down the Line. It's the 5th track on their EP, and does follow in the way of Panic Station. It's one of the more I guess melodic choruses. And then we have a video clip coming out for Panic Station as well that we just got the draft back yesterday. So there's not many changes that need to be done. So I think we'll probably have that out within the next week as well. And then we have the announcement of shows and all that kind of stuff coming out for the back end of July, start of August kind of thing. Hopefully a little bit out of the wet weather here in Perth.
Beautiful. Well, it sounds like there's heaps to keep fans and you guys, incredibly busy until the actual release comes out.
Definitely,
Yeah, so that's rad. Well, I suppose until then, AJ, best of luck with everything. I can kind of see Nervous Nature being a pretty gangbusters EP in a sense. Like, I'm really excited for it. I know Tim that runs the Faction's really excited for it. I can imagine the Faction listeners are also really excited for it. Like, I can't speak for all 10,000 listeners, but it's going to be a huge release. So
yeah, man, we're excited for it too. We're very keen to get this out.
100%. Well, congratulations on it as well.
Thanks, Alex.
I just want to hear it, to be honest. I just really want to hear the whole thing. So I'm going to be like really waiting patiently until that comes out.
Yeah, just for us, Tim, he has it. He'll be able to give it to us.
I'll definitely be hitting him up about that because, I'm keen to suss it. But I suppose until then, AJ, thank you so much for having a chat. It's been really, really cool to get like an insight into nervous nature and panic station and, everything that Ratking has been doing lately. It's really exciting.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you so much. Well, I'll let you go and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, same to you, buddy.